Howdy, folks. It's season 1, episode 2 of what did we call it? Woodshop Talk with Charlie and Russ. And we're working on getting a jingle made, but there's too many different irons in the fire of people trying to do it, and we can't get all on the same page. Might just come up with an acapella version and sing it live on the air someday. But I'm going to stop trying to be funny. We're going to go just right into introductions, and I'm going to try to stop saying. But we're going to run on over to left to right. It will be Braxton Worthland. Tell everybody about your funky self and how they can find you on the internet.
Hello, I'm Braxton. I do custom woodworking for people, and I'm also a stay-at-home dad. You can find me on YouTube. Just search for Braxton Worthland, or on the web, timbermft.com. You can find all my stuff.
All right, sir. Would you mind spelling your last name?
It is Wirthlin.
All righty then. Thank you very much. And next we have Chris Cute. He will be manning our Q&A tonight. And we don't just call him Cute because he's cute. Chris, tell everybody about yourself and how they can find you. You knew I was going to go there, didn't you?
No, yeah, but you didn't have to. You didn't have to.
But
hey, Charles, I got a quick question, and just forgive me because I'm ignorant, but I'm looking on the top right of my screen, and it says off air. But I'm assuming we're on air, so hello, I'm Chris. You can find me on YouTube under Chris Cute Woodworking, and also on Facebook, Make the First Cut.
Before I appreciate it, do you have the Q&A open? Is there anything?
I do. I have the Q&A open. There's nothing there yet.
All right, then we have 3 viewers. Thank you to all 3 of y'all. I think one of them is a wife, one is my dog, and I'm kidding. Next we go to Chris the Hearn. He goes by Chris the Wheeler. Tell everybody how they can find you, and they may have to stalk you to do it, but go for it.
Well, you can find me on Facebook under Little Cranky Workshop, and on YouTube under Chris the Wheeler. It's from Wheelchair Racing, and again, like I said, I'm going to get that squared away. I'm working on it, though. I'm going to get a YouTube page for woodworking. But I do mostly gifts to give away, take a few commission pieces here and there, but that's about it, and work on my old house.
All right, thank you very much, sir. Next we have Jason McGinn, way up there in Canada. Tell everybody about yourself and how they can find you, sir.
Hello, my name is Jason McGinn. You can find me at McGinn's Woodshop on YouTube. How do you find that? Go to YouTube and search MCGINN Woodshop, and you'll find me. That's it. That's me. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Next we have Mark Christopher, also in Canada. He will be showing us parts of the bandsaw as soon as we get the show going, if I'll ever shut up. And Mark Christopher, tell them about how they can find you.
Hi, I'm Mark Christopher from St. John's, Newfoundland. I live just outside Halifax in Nova Scotia. Primarily a gig maker, whirligig maker, getting into boxes, do a little bit of landscaping stuff with woodworking and whatever else my wife puts on the honey-do list. On Facebook, you can find us at Woodmark and Gale, G-A-I-L, and on Instagram, all the social media stuff. Just search Mark Christopher and you'll find me.
All righty, thank you very much, sir. And his wife's name is Gail, a very sweet woman.
Hey, Charles, I don't mean to interrupt you, but when we get through with the introducing everybody, the link that you posted on Facebook for people to watch is dead. It's not working. I just tried it myself. I had a couple people. Yeah, so let's just finish your introductions, and then I'll take over and talk while you go back and correct it. So,
where was it at? Our group or Woodworkers on YouTube?
The one that I'm looking at right now is hold on, I had it here.
How about don't worry about it, guys? I'll find it and I'll put it in the chat here for you.
That's strange because it says we have 5 viewers, so I must have done it right somewhere. But
this one is actually the one I clicked on is actually in yours. Under Charles Deering.
Yeah, and John Schaefer in the Q&A said that it's dead too, the one on Facebook.
Holy monkey poop. Okay, I posted in the Woodshop Talk group and Woodworkers on YouTube. Which one is dead?
Hold on, I'm checking the one in Woodshop.
Well, that sucks, booty.
Well, yeah, I'm sorry. And actually, it was John Schaffner. I apologize. Yeah.
But he said
all he said was the Facebook link to the Q&A is dead.
Summeruni. Okay, I will repost it. But in order for me to do that, as soon as I get done with the introductions, I'll have to copy it after everybody. Okay, Jason McGinn just posted it, and I will copy and paste that when Russ starts talking after I'm done with the introductions. Thank you for pointing that out, Russ. Next,
That makes up for cutting you off last week.
Okay, Jason, would you mind posting that link in Woodworkers on YouTube? Actually, I think you're in both groups, aren't you?
No, I got banned from that because somebody who owns it doesn't like me.
Okay, are you part of Woodshop Talk with Russ and Charlie Hangout Details group?
I have no idea.
Okay. Okay. Well, if you're not, then I'll start crying here shortly, and then I will also add you to that group. And I'm going to go ahead and finish on the the introductions. Michael Murray, also known as Miter Mike, tell everybody all about yourself and where they can find you.
Oh yeah, you could. I have a website. It's www.mitermikeswoodshop.com. It'll have all my links for YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, all that other stuff.
Alrighty then, thank you very much, sir. Next we have Ron Buchanan, known as the Wood Traveler. Tell everybody about yourself, about what you're doing right now and what you're trying to do, and plug your Patreon, baby, because you deserve it.
Well, what I was doing and trying to do was post that link over on Facebook. I'm Ron. I'm the Wood Traveler, as it says right here. You can find me on YouTube under the Wood Traveler, or under my name, Ron Buchanan. That's a little harder to find. I'm on Facebook under Crafty Uncle, one word. And other than that, you don't find me, I find you.
Oh, Lordy. Now, tell everybody about your Patreon. The reason why I'm so supportive of this guy's Patreon is because he travels the country talking to woodworkers, and he videotapes it. Also, roadside attractions. But I know there's a big debate about Patreon, but for what he does, he needs upkeep for his vehicle. He needs fuel. I mean, it's just fair, and you don't see a lot of people, if anybody else, doing what he does. So I think that is one of the biggest reasons to support somebody like him. You can get, if 100 people give $1, he has $100 a month. I mean, go ahead, Ron, if you want to promote it any better than that.
It's not that I'm looking for a handout. I'm looking for sponsors. People who pay for the content that I'm providing. It's not, I was doing it all last year out of pocket. I don't have $1,000 a month for fuel and food and showers and a room every once in a while. I can't afford it. I was tires last year on the vehicle I was driving before it broke down. And now I'm in a new vehicle. Everybody who knows me knows I've gone through transmissions. I still need 4 tires for this vehicle, and fuel is, and it's half the price it was last year, but it's still twice as much as it should be.
Yeah, I hope everybody understands why I'm pressing the issue, because what he does is rare, what he does is entertaining, and hopefully it would be obvious to people why monetary support would be so important, because he's not asking for a handout, and for him to do what he does and succeed at it, it will take money, and it's it's nobody's responsibility, but I've pledged to help. Go ahead, Ron.
A lot of things people misunderstand Patreon. They think that like I'm asking for $20 or $30 or $50 or $100. I'm asking for $1 or $2 from a lot of people, and on a monthly basis, not just like GoFundMe is, hey, send me $100 so I can whatever. I'm not going there, but that's not that's not what I'm about. I'm just, this is my, without getting too far detailed into it, I have been hospitalized, I recovered temporarily, and I want to get out there and see the world before I leave it. So what I'm after is to share the things that I see. If you haven't seen my my roadside attractions, the wood carvers, those are the guys that I'm really out to follow.
Absolutely.
My future plans include some of the bigger names in woodworking. I'm not saying Norb Abram, but I'm not excluding them. But I do have quite a few names that a lot of people know that have invited me out. I just don't get there.
Yeah, and I really hope the viewers, we have 10 of them right now, even if 10 of y'all donated $5 or whatever, but I don't think Ron would turn down $1 million in a free RV. That's just me.
I think it's a unique experience as well. Like as aside from just over video like we're doing now over the internet, he physically goes to the location.
Yep.
That's a whole different ballgame of things.
Well, I mean, we're talking about either if I'm not woodworking in somebody's shop, I'm driving 18 hours a day.
Yeah, that's a big expense, and so it's totally understandable that you need some support on that one.
Yeah.
And personally, I think it's such an interesting thing that you do.
Exactly.
I look forward to seeing that. And I know I haven't.
Not against traveling across the borders. You know, the guys up in Canada, they've invited me as soon as I stop saying Canada. But Europe, a lot of my viewers are in Europe, in the UK, even Australia, Germany, Britain, London. You know that all. I'm not I don't object to any of it. All I need is sponsors.
Everywhere except for Iraq. No offense, Ron. I got to move on because we got 2 more people in my ugly butt to.
I will be the Iraqi woodworker. All right. I will. This is Ahmed's workshop.
All right. I appreciate all that, Ron, and sorry for taking up the time.
Taking up too much time.
Okay, next we have Ronnie Lee Sutton. I'm sorry for taking so long, Ronnie. Tell everybody about yourself, how they can find you.
Once again, I'm Ronnie Lee Sutton, and I'm the owner and operator of It's a Wood Thing, located out of Modesto, California. I have a YouTube channel that's called It's a Wood Thing. You can also reach me on the web at itsawoodthing.com, and all my other social media links and stuff like that are under there, located at both those channels. And basically, I'll build anything someone will pay me to build.
All righty then. Thank you very much, sir. And last time I forgot him, but this time I'm not going to. Mr. Co-host, equal owner of this show, Russ Clarity out of Mulberry, Florida.
Hi, howdy. How y'all doing tonight?
Pretty good. Do you want to tell everybody where you are? Or, how to find you?
You can find me on the web, simplywoodencreations.com, on Facebook, Simply Wooden Creations, and I do YouTube videos now, and it's Simply Wooden Creations. Everywhere, Simply Wooden Creations.
My God! And tell everybody about the little sticker board behind you, even though your logos are covering up part of it, but that's fine.
Anyway, back here's my sticker board that I got, and I finally finished the frame and painted it. So I got a couple of new stickers. If you can't see them, Sterling's Woodcraft sent me a sticker. I got his up there now.
That's Sterling Davis.
Yep. Chris Cute, and ain't Chris Cute.
Oh, he's so cute.
And sorry, I had to do that.
Yeah, there's a universal sign language I can hand you right now, but I'm gonna. Okay.
We'll get a mouthful of it after the show, I'm quite sure.
And then anyway, I got his sticker up there. It's make the first cut, so his is up there also.
Alrighty. Yeah, I'm very sorry, Chris. I'm gonna die after the show. My name is Charles Jerry.
Sorry, Charles. You got a really high-pitched squeal coming out of your mic. Maybe it loosened up a little bit or something. Sorry to mute you there. I didn't, but yeah.
Yeah. I was just fixing to do the same. Yeah, it's squealing really, really, really bad.
Okay, is it squealing now?
Yep. It stopped.
Must have been my fan here. Okay,
Nope. Now it's back again.
Crap on the stick, man.
Well, everybody else, Charles Deering, his favorite channel is McGinn's Woodshop.
Russ, I think you're at the helm, brother. What's going on?
Yeah, you might. It is. Oh man, like hurting my ears.
I'll mute myself. All due respect to everybody, Russ just run the show. Remember, Mark Christopher is.
Well, why don't you just reboot and I'll pick it up while you're gone, but reboot and come back.
If I reboot, will the show keep going?
Should.
How about I just mute myself?
Okay.
Yeah, because Matt and I log in as the same account, so I'm not sure if you reboot what'll happen there.
Well, I don't think it would shut down, but anyway. All right, has everybody introduced themselves? Because I kind of was over here watching YouTube and everything. We miss anybody? Okay. All right. Tonight, I guess the topic's going to be on bandsaws. I see old Charles over there. Kind of funny. I guess I have to. How do you present? Why don't you present me, Charles?
I have the camera on you, if that's what you're talking about.
Okay, never mind. So I didn't know if that's what it was or not. So anyway, we're going to be talking about bandsaws. Their use, I think somebody in here had some pictures to show some bandsaw parts and parts of the bandsaw. If you don't have a...
Sorry, I just want to let you, Mark Christopher is going to show us in person, and if any of that doesn't work, Ronnie Lee Sutton has pictures.
Okay. So we'll go over the basics of a bandsaw, what all has. For those of you, I've had a bandsaw for years, and I would just like to say, for those of you who don't have one, or some people really think they know how to set up a bandsaw, and I thought I did, but on YouTube, if you look up a guy by the name of Alex Snodgrass, he travels around with the woodworking shows, and he sets up the way he sets up his bandsaw is absolutely fantastic. After going to a couple of his shows and watching him on YouTube, I set my bandsaw up the way that he shows to do it, and it made all the difference in the world as the way my bandsaw reacted. So just a little pointer, I can put it. We can put it in the caption or the notes after this show's over. I'll get Charles or one of us will put it in there to his YouTube video so you can watch it. But I'm serious. The guy is phenomenal in the way he sets up the bandsaw. It's different than anything I saw in the past, and it really made a big difference in the way my bandsaw cuts. So that's just a little pointer. Okay, who had the pictures? Do you want to go ahead and start showing them?
Mark Christopher was going to do it live, and if that wasn't working out, Ronnie Lee Sutton was going to show pictures.
All right, Mark.
How you doing, guys? This is my bandsaw. It's a I'm not sure of the year. It's early 80s. Manufactured by General out of Drummondville, Quebec, up here in Canada. It's a model 490. This one is a 230 volt three-phase, and it's got a 15.5-inch capacity on it. When they refer to the size of it, they're actually talking about from the blade here to the back here. So I've got just about 15 and a quarter, I think. I've equipped mine with a Craig fence with a resaw guide right here. This little protrusion here just slides along. Pretty straightforward machine. It has two wheels, the upper and the lower. You see down there. And it's got a long blade on it. I've equipped mine with polyurethane wheels, thanks to Jason McGinn. Him and Matt came over, and my wife was using the bandsaw. She's actually quite proficient with it. She loves the bandsaw. And but anyway, something had jumped out of skew, and it wasn't working. So anyway, Jason got it going again, and a little help from Peter Freitag in Germany, who was providing technical assistance, and Jason wouldn't give up on it. And we got the polyurethane wheels put on, sorry, the tires on the wheels. At the top, you'll usually find a blade tension adjuster. They always tell you to release the tension after you've used it. I don't think I've ever released the tension except to change the blade. I'm just really lazy, and I think a lot of guys are. It's got the motor on it. It's a pretty basic machine. One of the things that I do, I've got this this little block tool with an abrasive, and what I do is I turn it on and I lay it on the table here, and I just kind of round. What I'm doing is I'm actually rounding the back of the blade over, and it just makes it a little bit easier to if you're doing inside cuts, if you're doing like bandsaw boxes, it just helps rotate it a little bit more. I said it's a pretty basic machine. It's I don't know if anybody got any questions or not, but it's probably one of my most used tools outside of my lathe. It's probably the most used in my shop. So
I have a question.
Releasing the tension, Mark. I read a couple. Actually, I've read several things about that, and one of the primary reasons they say to release the tension after each use is because it actually is supposedly on the rubber wheels. It will actually make them get flat spots in them, so that the bandsaw will kind of like run kind of rough. So that was the primary reason they said to release the tension, from what I read and understood. So
every time when I first got it and I tried it, I could never get the thing set just the way I wanted it. So when I finally got it set, I just left it.
There's also it's interesting to say that I also watched a couple other videos and also been reading up on it. And these blades that we use on bandsaws, they're capable of taking a heck of a lot more tension than what we're actually putting on them. And I watched a video the other night, and he was actually, like, if you, let's say you have a 1/2 inch on my bandsaw, it's marked in increments, and if you have a 1/2 inch blade, you're supposed to tighten the tension up to where it says 1/2 inch. If it's a 3/4 inch blade, you're supposed to tighten it up to where it says 3/4. He, like a 1/2 inch blade, he would run the tension up to where it was like above 3/4. I mean, tight, almost to the point of piano tuning the blade tight. And he also said that it made the blade cut straighter and better. So that's just one of those theories out there I've heard.
I actually set my blade based on a tip that Charles gave me for the scroll saw. I pluck it and I listen to the tone. The wider the blade, the lower the tone I expect, but I find that tension I want, and I just go for that tone again.
Yeah, that's basically kind of what he was saying as far as for people wanting to know how, and he did a little thing on his video where he plucked it, and you could hear the difference in the tensioning. So I just thought it was interesting because everybody, I know I did. You got a 1/2 inch blade, you set the little thing on 1/2 inch, and you think you're good to go, but apparently those things, something he said that along the line that those blades can take up to 800 pounds of force on them, and normally on like a 1/2 inch blade, if you set it to the 1/2 inch, you're only putting about 80 to 100 pounds of force on them. So there's a big gap right there that you can really tighten that thing up.
Well, depending on the bandsaw you have, and I guess the nicer one you have, the more accurate this may be. I mean, I don't have one of the really nice ones, but those indicators you're talking about, Russ, are, from what I understand, those things aren't really all that accurate. It kind of puts you in the ballpark, and so you've really got to test the blade tension on the thing. But I had a question I wanted to ask Mark, because he talked about the urethane tires he put on the wheels. What was the biggest difference between the rubber wheels that were on there and the urethane ones? I've heard a lot of guys will buy a brand new bandsaw, take off the brand new rubber wheels, and then put urethane ones on. What's the advantage to doing that?
Well, honestly, I'm not really sure, because the tires that were on this were at least 25 years old.
Well, they were shot, so they had to be.
Oh, yeah. So they needed to be done. I could have gotten away with a standard tire for it, but I've read about these just being just more durable and providing better traction, I guess. And they haven't budged one iota since I got them. And
they last a lot longer. They stick the blade to the position they should be in, so you can be off a little bit more, and it's not going to wave back and forth as much. But one interesting thing is, Russell said, how sitting it with the tension high can mark it or flatten a spot. That makes a lot of sense. I leave my tension up as well, Mark. But now, just Russell saying that, actually, that makes so much sense. Just logically thinking about it.
Yeah,
I've also stressed the wheels.
Yeah, I'll put a little mark where my tension is, and then I can loosen it and retighten it real quick, right to the spot that I had it before.
Yeah, I mean that's just something I was taught when I was using my bandsaw, and I've also read things about it. That guy Alex Snodgrass, he also mentions that same thing about not leaving the tension on. If you're not using the saw, because what it will do to the tire. That's the main thing. It's not going to hurt the blade. It's not going to hurt the machine. It's just going to put flat spots on those tires. And he showed one. The woodworking shows, he showed a bandsaw. They had taken it off the whole wheel, in other words, and you could actually see where that bandsaw blade had been for a long period of time under tension on there, and flattened that space out on there. So that's just something. For anybody that's joining us right now, the reason Charles is over there keeping his mouth shut is because he's got a mic problem. His mic has been squealing, so I'm pretty well going to run the show tonight. It's an actual refresh to watch him sitting there with his mouth closed.
Well, Charles, do me a favor. Try to unmute yourself and see if you can get your question in real quick.
Yeah, see if it squeals again.
Squeal like a pig.
Oh yeah, it squeals bad.
Okay, I'll try to say this really quickly. Anybody on the panel can answer this. I just wanted to ask where did I write it? What was the hardest part about as a beginner using the bandsaw? Was it dealing with blade drift, or what was it? I'm going to mute myself now.
You guys mind if I take that one? Because I've been actually
Go ahead.
on my tongue since Mark was talking there. Setting up a bandsaw, the blade and the guides, to me, was the hardest thing to comprehend and get set up. And in the end, every single new blade that I put on, the different width of the blade, I got to reset my guides. And how you want to have them, well, what I understand and what I feel comfortable with now is everything off by like a 32nd of an inch, or like not even a millimeter, from one side to the other and behind the blade, so that when you push into the blade, that's when it touches your guide and not beforehand. So it should be free. And then after you push your wood into it, that's when it touches your guide. And when you see your left and right, say you have bearings going, you know you're drifting left or right a lot more, or you can gauge those things a little better.
So when you turn the bandsaw on, if you're not running any wood through it whatsoever, and you look and you see, and you happen to have the bearings, and you happen to see one of the bearings actually moving, which means it's touching the blade, you need to adjust that guide. Otherwise, you're going to have problems.
Exactly. It should not, when it is sitting there with no wood on it, all those bearings should be off just enough that they're free floating. The blade is free floating and not touching. And just like Jason said, the minute you put a piece of wood to it, that is when the bearings come in contact with the blade and start to move.
There's one I agree with about that. I think Alex Snodgrass said it too. When you just put the back of your hand on the teeth and ever so gently move the blade down, it should come in contact with that bearing. But with no pressure at all, it shouldn't. If you're just spinning the wheel, it shouldn't be touching the bearing.
Right. That's the way this one is here. It's cause that's the thrust bearing here, and that's not moving at all as I'm moving the blade there. The other thing I've done is I put move this into position so you can see it a little better. I've swapped out the original blocks that were in there right here. These are there's one there and there's one on this side here. And it's the same thing. It's for the lateral movement back and forth. I run what's called Cool Blocks. The brand name, I don't know what their specialty is, but that's what happened to be. I picked up at Lee Valley. One of the guys recommended it, so that's what I ended up with. But I've had no problems with the Cool Blocks. And the same thing again. It should not be touching the blocks at all. It's, if there's any drift going on, and that's something that For what I've been doing, I haven't really had an issue with it. I'd like to get into more resawing. I've got a resaw blade. Jason has the same one, and I'd like to get figure out the drift on that so I can actually utilize getting more wood out of it. Resawing a nice piece of wood, mahogany or something. But blade drift is that's an art form in itself.
Go
ahead, Jason.
One other thing about those top guides is when you have them in place, you also want them. You do want them to touch the side of the blade, but you do not want them to touch the actual teeth of the blade. So you want it. You want those two side blocks that he's got that you can see there behind the actual teeth of the blade. So you're not. When it does touch, you're not touching your blade or the actual teeth and wrecking dulling your blade.
Yeah, hey Mark, you're right. Just even on the bearings, the bearings, the cool blocks, whatever you're using, it's supposed to be at the back of the throat of where the teeth are. The bearings should not come out into that teeth. They should just be just behind the. I want to say the teeth. I call it the throat, but the tooth throat or the opening of the back of the tooth. You want them back there. You don't want them out there toward the front of the blade.
That's the same thing with the teeth on the wheel. They should be just in front of the ridge of the wheel. The teeth shouldn't ride on the wheel of your bandsaw. They should be just in front of it.
Right. Most of the wheels that I have seen on bandsaws are kind of like shaped. They have a high point in the middle, and they're low on each outer edge.
Right.
So therefore, you want those teeth. You want the blade to run on that high point.
Right.
But you don't want the teeth on the high point. You want them sticking just over the edge so that blade, the solid part of the blade, is running on the high point, but the teeth are actually out there in the air, free floating, so to speak.
Right, because it can tear up your tires. I got a couple questions here. Dan Englewood said he heard that you were supposed to adjust to within 0.02 of an inch from the bearings. Does it really need to be that close?
I don't know about 0.02 of an inch. As long as you can free spin the blade and the bearings do not turn, that is great. And it takes just a slight amount of pressure to engage. I don't remember who said it.
All you do is put the back of your hand to it. Yes.
Yeah, Braxton said, and that's the way Alex Snodgrass does. He takes the back of his hand and gently pushes up against the blade and kind of like pulls down easily, and just as soon as he puts that little bit of pressure, you can see it come in contact and those bearings starting to move.
Right.
If it's 0.02 of an inch, I mean, if it's that, 0.02 of an inch, but it's just so it doesn't touch.
Mark's is actually in good position. If Mark, you could turn the camera so we can see how far the blade is off. And just as a side note, also, it's at the bottom. There's also guides underneath the table, and those have to be set the same distance and set the same way.
Right. Yeah, if Mark can show that, there are guides. There's top guides and there's bottom guides.
Hang on one second. No. I got to fold up the legs on the tripod here.
While he's doing that, those polyurethanes, they do run smoother and better, which causes less vibration and makes for cleaner cuts.
Also, Paul Keane was talking. He went back to the tensioning that we were talking about. He says he has a Grizzly Geo 555, and that actually, and a lot of bandsaws do come with it. Some of the higher level bandsaws, the nicer bandsaws you can buy, have this lever that you move to loosen the tension after you use the saw. When you want to use the bandsaw again, you just move it back into place, and the tension is put right back to where you originally had it. And so if you have one of those, the key point there is to adjust your tension at the point that you exactly want it so that you have that quick release and can then automatically reset. Otherwise, you have, like I do, I have a top crank he does, and you have to tighten it by hand. But some of the nicer bandsaws have an automatic thing. You can set it once and then leave it.
I have a picture of that if anyone wants to see it.
Yeah, I know that Carter Tools or Carter Industries, you can find them on Carter Industries or Carter Tools online. They make they make all kind of bandsaw accessories, including blades. Now they have a quick release. They sell quick releases to install on bandsaws that don't have the quick release. I'm not sure as to what saws it will work on, but if anybody is interested, they can go to Carter Tools, Carter Industries, and check that out, or type it in on Google and search it, and go there and see if they have something that might fit your bandsaw for a quick release.
Right. There was a question that came up about safety, and I don't know where it went. But I know that Jason said that he had something that he could talk about as far as as far as safety goes for beginners. But I see that his screen is now gone, so I don't know. Maybe he can address that when he gets back.
Sorry, I thought it had already been asked. That's why I deleted that, but that's my fault.
Sorry, was that what I posted there?
Yeah, about the safety tips for beginners and things of that nature that was being asked.
Yeah, well, a few things that I've run into, and I guess it's the reason I put it out there, is cutting like logs and different things where they aren't flat against the table is extremely dangerous, and it's a lesson that I guess I learned. I wish I would have learned before I actually did it. But I tried to push a log through, and the log wasn't totally flat on the table. And as it went through, the blade caught, twisted, so the log kept yanking down, which pulled my hands towards the blade. And luckily, I mean, the log locked the blade, twisted, and held it and stopped everything from moving. So that was no problem, other than costing me an $80 resaw blade that I now have to replace.
A couple of things real quick. I just looked it up just to make sure. It is excuse me, www.carterproducts.com, and they have several things out there. Now, speaking of that again, Carter Products also makes, Jason, a thing to hold logs to assist you when you're trying to rip them on a bandsaw. So
it's basically a carriage that you can mount it onto, which has a flat surface and will ride evenly across the face of the bandsaw.
Right.
It helps. It helps in the initial resaw cut, because once you have one flat side, you're good to go. It's just getting that initial flat side that's the issue.
I actually made myself a jig that I screw the log in from one side, I angle screw on the other side, and it runs on the track.
Yep.
And I can resaw my blade, my logs with that.
That's basically it. Yeah, that's what it is. Just a carriage that holds the log so you can cut a square edge on one side.
Yeah.
I mean, my problem was...
They have several of them out there. Like I said, Carter Industries, I saw theirs and it works pretty good. Also, I'd like to mention, I don't know what blades a lot of people use, but I use the wood slicer blades from Highland
Woodworking.
I have used Timberwolf, I've used AccuCheck, I've used several different blades over the years for resawing, and I have to tell you that I don't know who's got a lot of them. Somebody's got a lot of noise. But the wood slicer blade from Highland Woodworking is absolutely fantastic. It does not work well on a lot of your... It works better on domestic woods than it does on non-domestic woods. And the reason I say that is they're very expensive. They're like $100 for the blade. I was doing some babinga and a few other exotic woods with it, and it went dull a lot quicker than I thought it should have. And so I called them up and complained. I'm like, hey, your blade went dull. You know, what gives and everything. Come to find out, a lot of your non-domestic woods have a lot more oil in them than our domestic woods do. So therefore, what happens is when you're trying to cut into them, the oil starts superheating, which superheats the blade because of the friction, and that's what causes your blade. It actually doesn't dull, but the heat causes it to mess up and it doesn't work anymore. So he suggested for me, if I'm going to do a lot of exotic woods rather than domestic, to go to a carbide tip. That would eliminate the problem. But if you're just doing your domestic woods like oak and cherry and mahogany, black walnut, I got to tell you, I've used a lot of the other bandsaw blades, and they're hands down that wood slicer blade from Highland Woodworking is definitely, to me, the best blade that I've ever used. Another thing is it cuts so smooth that it's actually when you cut that on a band or cut something on the bandsaw with that blade, it's actually almost glue ready. I mean, you don't even have to plane it or do anything or sand it. You can actually put glue on it and stick it together. It's so great. Anybody else have anything they want to add?
What about dust collection from the bandsaw? How do you guys do it? Because a lot of bandsaws come with a single port, some come with a double port, and the ones that usually come with a double port have normally have two sizes to it. One will automatically fit right up to your shop vac, and then it's got the big 6-inch or the 4-inch hole there. How do you guys handle the dust collection?
Somebody out there want to take that one? I have some tips, but somebody else want to go first, like Mark?
I sweep it up off the floor afterwards. Mine doesn't have a dust port on it.
Okay. Jason? I know she's not there. Okay, my bandsaw, I have a Harbor Freight bandsaw. I know everybody's going to laugh with the riser block and everything. I've had it now for 6 years, and it works great. I have no problems with it. It came with a single port that fits right underneath the rollers on the side underneath the table, which so as the blade's coming through the wood and coming down, it supposedly catches the dust before the blade enters back into the cabinet at the bottom. It worked out really well as far as any dust around on the floor. I didn't see hardly any dust around the floor, but the problem that I saw was it didn't get all the dust, and the dust would collect in the cabinet. When you would open the door on the bottom, there would be a lot of dust down there on the wheel, and I ended up having to open the door after I did a lot of resawing and cleaning down, vacuuming down there. So what I did on mine is I bought another port, flat port. I'm not sure. I think I got it at Rocklear or not sure where I got it, and cut a hole at the bottom of the cabinet, and actually screwed this port on there at the bottom of the cabinet down there at the bottom. And I split my 4-inch line into two inches and hooked one to the top and one to the cabinet, and that solved my problem. So I don't have dust collecting down there in the bottom of the cabinet anymore. So
another thing that can really help too is mine has the dual port too, but you can buy aftermarket, but mine came with one. They have brushes right inside of the ports now, and the brush will literally right up against the blade, and so it knocks all that sawdust off, and so it goes right into the port when it's hooked up. So you can get those aftermarket for about $5 a brush, I think, and those really, really help keeping the dust out of the machine.
I had one more simple question that somebody may ask that's not really experienced in bandsaws. And Mark Christopher showed his fence that he has. He's got that Craig fence. What kind of fence do you really need for a bandsaw? I mean, because I've seen resaw fences, and you see some fences that look like they're maybe 2 inches high, and some that are like 6 inches high. What, if somebody knows about bandsaws and wants to elaborate on what fences where and what one you'd want to use, that'd be a good idea.
Yeah, there's Carter Products. Yep, Mark's holding up right now. Carter Products sells a brush called Clean Sweep for your bandsaw. You remember how much that cost, Mark?
I think I got the two of them for about $10.
That's a good idea. I didn't even think about having a brush, but I might end up. I've already got the port in the bottom of my cabinet now, so it doesn't. I don't really need the brush. So, but that is a good idea.
Yeah. So it'll just run. It just attaches in the back here.
Yeah.
Where just a couple of machine screws. So I haven't installed it yet, obviously.
Back to Chris's question. I made my own fence. I am looking in the future. I'm going to buy a fence. Matter of fact, how do you like your fence there, Mark? That Craig fence?
It's awesome. I don't know what it is with Craig, man. They get it right. The number of times it's funny because I was doing. One of my videos I was resawing something and I forgot to put it in. I've got very little room to the back wall there, so I actually have to. It's not like I could just take the whole thing off because it's got the micro adjuster on the back. So what I end up doing usually is lifting this whole piece right out. But for resawing, for this point here, like when it rides along that resaw guide there, just to give you that little angle to adjust for the drift, it's really good. It's not cheap. I honestly can't remember how much it cost, but I got it at I think it was either Busy Bee or Lee Valley, and you just go to Rockler, I guess down in the States or wherever. And should be able to get it wherever you get your Craig stuff, but I've been quite pleased with it.
Yeah, I just bought that same fence. I think it was like $119. I think I got it off Amazon. It was like 2 months ago, I think. I just put it on and I love it.
Like I said, I made mine out of some wood. I took a bar clamp and designed it. I mean, I could go out there and get it, but I don't have it here where I can show you. The reason I made mine is because I needed I'm doing wood that's 11. Mine will do up to 12 inches, but most of my wood is like 11 inches high. And when I resaw, and the shorter fences didn't give me the support I wanted, so I made my own and made it like the fence. I have two sizes. I have a short one, which is about 4.5 inches. Then I have a tall one, which is 10 inches. So when I do the 11 inches, I can get plenty of support. I would like to point out one thing about if you set the. A lot of people think that you cannot rip or resaw wood up against the fence and get a straight line because of the blade drift. If you set that saw up the way Alex Snodgrass shows you how to set it up, and you use the wood slicer blade, I put my wood up against the fence, and I have no problems cutting a straight line. I have no blade drift whatsoever. It cuts very accurate. I can cut down to almost a 1/16 of an inch and be straight. Not quite a 1/16, but almost. I've got a piece around here I was showing somebody the other day that I cut. So.
And you know it's.
I also made my fence, and it's kind of like yours. It's got a high side and then a low side. And I just clamp it right to the table. I made mine just because I needed one. I was in a pinch and whipped it together. But I definitely like to get my hands on one of the Craig ones in the future. But at this point, I just clamp it right to the table, and it works like a charm.
Yeah, that's what I do with mine, and I agree. And it's one of my future things that I want to buy is the a better fence. I don't know if I'm going to go with Craig or not, but a better fence system out there. Because I mean, mine's all right; it works, but it has its drawbacks in some cases because it's a pain to get set up and make sure it's straight because of the way I design it with wood. What have you got there, Mark?
This is a jig I use for cutting my slimline pen blanks. I've got several of these, and when I take the blank, I'll just butt it up against here and just drop it into the slot there. It's like any standard jig, just got a runner in the bottom of it, and so that's what I use it for, just to rough cut the measurement to the overall length, and then I've got another piece that drops in that will split that into the correct dimensions, but. You know, it's like anything. You know, jigs for your table saw, jigs for your bandsaw, just as handy.
Yeah, Patrick over at Patrick's Woodshop, he made, and I haven't made one yet, but I'm going to make one like he made. He made a circle cutting jig for the bandsaw, and it's a little bit different than anyone I've ever seen, and I really liked his design. So I have plans on the future to make one of those like he made. Anybody else have any comments or questions?
Well, this is the standard fence you'll get on a bandsaw when you buy one. It's just, I mean, I have a Rikon bandsaw, and this is their stock fence that they send you, and obviously it's got dust all over it, sorry, and it has the gauge here, but it has this little thing right here for resawing, and I can tell you right now, that thing is, in my opinion, worthless.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a nice idea, and I suppose it's better than nothing. But yeah, I never have that thing on this fence.
Well, there's a lot of controversy about blade drift, and I noticed that Mark's Craig jig over there has that thing set up for resawing, and that comes to like a point almost, doesn't it, Mark?
Sorry, I had to unmute myself. Yeah, it's convex, I guess. So there is a point there. If you ran that, yeah, there is movement on it.
Right.
So,
But
yeah.
the theory is because of blade drift that you can't put a piece of board for resawing flat up against the fence, and because of blade drift, it will not cut a straight line.
Yeah.
I put mine up against the fence, and I don't have any problem at all. I have one of the little bit newer Grizzlies, and it has, with the fence also comes a 6-inch high resaw fence, and it's the flat one, and I have the 1-inch blade that I use with mine. It's a 3 TPI variable tooth, and I can cut veneers on it, and it up to 14.5 inches, and I get no drift at all. Two of the most important things about drift is tension. I actually have a tension gauge that I hook up to mine, and they're a little expensive, but they're worth it, especially if you're doing a lot of resawing. And the other thing is people tend to try to push their wood through too fast.
Yeah.
And when you push your wood too fast, it's just like water. It's going to find the easiest path. So when you're pushing that wood fast, your blade is going to detour left or right. So always take your time pushing, and make sure that you tension your blade full. And one thing about the new Grizzlies they have is you can set that tension full, and then you can take that tension bar and back and crank that thing down, so that thing's ultra tension, so it cuts it literally cuts like a knife through butter.
Where did you get your tension gauge?
My tension gauge is on my machine. If you guys want, I can show it to you.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. You guys just tell me what you want to see, and I'll let's see. Let's do this again real quick. Okay.
You have to do the screen
there we
share.
go. I'm coming. Let's see. Okay. Let's do pics and bandsaw, and let's start here. All right. This right here is the tension gauge, you guys. This is the tension setting right here. How you set the tension? Can you guys see where I'm pointing?
Yes, I can see it.
This is the where you set the tension, and this right here is the tension bar. It's off right now, and all I do is pull this down, and it will just massively set the tension on it. It's a pretty awesome piece. I have to make this a little bit smaller, guys, so I can actually move this here. What were you guys want to see? This is the tension gauge right here, and it's an actual window. It's not going to be very clear for you guys, but it has a 1/4 inch, 1/8 of an inch, whatever you want, however thick your blade is. I think mine goes up to 1.5. And right here I'll tell you how tensioned you are. Now what I do is I put mine up to that tension, and then I throw my tension bar on, so it cranks way past it, almost double basically.
Wow.
So in those brushes I was talking about, if I can find them real quick, on mine they're right in here. Now you can actually put them in here, right in this area. I think they work the best. And you actually don't have to buy aftermarket ones. You can just get you a nice nylon bristle, almost like a toothbrush style. And if you just bolt it right here where it just touches, then all that sawdust will just knock off immediately into this. And I mean, it stays super clean. I rarely have any dust left in mine at all when I'm done.
Yeah, my problem was the reason I had to put that extra port in is like at the base of that cabinet down there below your roller, it would actually, the sawdust made it down to there and would actually get fairly thick to the point it was starting to touch the wheel, especially if I was doing a lot of resawing. So that's the reason I had to install that other port. But I never thought about trying to get brushes put on the blade.
I was going to show you the fence that you guys were talking about. This is the fence that comes with Grizzly now, and this is really one of the nicest fences I've ever used. And you see this little hole right here. There's actually a 6-inch fence that you can bolt to this, so it'll go up 6 6 inches. And it just, I mean, like I said, this thing cuts pretty clean. It does help that it has a 5 horsepower motor, so.
Oh yeah. Most that's another point I want to bring up to a lot of people that maybe first-time users or don't know a lot about a bandsaw is the blade width. On most of your bandsaws, like for instance my Harbor Freight, a 14-inch bandsaw, you do not need anything wider than a 1/2 inch blade. A 3/4 inch blade is actually too big for a lot of these bandsaws. They weren't designed to turn 3/4. How I found that out is once again by listening to Alex Snodgrass at some of the woodworking shows, and also when I called Highland Woodworking to talk to them about buying their wood slicer blades. I told him at first I wanted a 3/4 inch, and the guy immediately asked me, he says, well, what kind of bandsaw and horsepower you have? And I told him, and he was like, you don't need a 3/4 inch. 1/2 inch will do everything you want to do, and it'll be a lot better and less strain on your motor, because those smaller bandsaws are not designed to take 3/4 inch blades. I did not know that at the time. This has been several years, so most of the bandsaws that we have in our shops around here, now your Grizzly, obviously that one is capable of carrying a lot bigger blade, but most of the bandsaws that we have in our shops, you don't need anything else larger than a 1/2 inch blade. A 1/2 inch blade for me, I cut 11-inch oak, 11-inch cherry mahogany all day long with that 1/2 inch blade, and it works perfect. So that's just a thought for those who think bigger is better, and a lot of times it actually ain't.
It really does depend on the machine.
Yeah, it depends on, if you've got a big, now how many horsepower is that one you have?
It's 5 horsepower.
Yeah, see, I think mine's only like 1.5 horses or 2 horse, so yeah, that 5 horse is definitely.
This one's only 3/4 horse.
Oh wow! Now, how big of a blade do you have on it?
At the moment, I got a 1/2 inch on it.
Have you ever put a 3/4 on it?
I have gone to 3/4 with no problem.
And it didn't have any problem using it? Okay. That's just something I kind of stuck with, and like I said, I've been told by several people, and I'm happy with the 1/2 inch. It does really fantastic for me for resawing. We are just about rocking on. It's 9:28, so wow, time flies when you're having fun. I can't believe it's almost been an hour. Anything? Do we have any more questions in the Q&A?
Actually, Brian just wanted to say a word.
Sure. Go ahead.
Never mind. This sounds messed up.
There are currently no questions in the Q&A. I think we're good.
All right, we're good. All right. I can't think of anything else. Anybody else have anything in the last minute? I mean, we can run a few minutes over if you have anything, but anybody else have any questions or anything else to say?
Yeah, just a quick one. What's the secret to changing the blade? I find I fight with the blade change every time.
Yeah, I don't know that there is a secret in changing the blade, and I agree with you. It's a pain in the derriere to change.
Dish soap will make your life easier.
Make sure you use gloves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my secret. Use gloves.
Yeah, that. In all sincerity, I was not. I had bought some cheaper blades, and when I got my first wood slicer blade in, I was shocked. I mean, it is razor blade sharp.
Yes.
I had to use gloves to put it on, or I would have tore my hands all up. So there is a big difference, guys out there, between the types of blades you use. Cheap ones that you buy at Home Depot and stuff like that, they're no comparison to some of the Timberwolf's a good blade. So I've heard a lot of people use it, and a lot of good things about that one too. So.
All right, one question here from Paul, actually more of a statement, but something that probably needs a comment. He says he has a bandsaw. It's only a single horsepower. He thinks it's got a 3/4 inch blade in it. He says the blade is probably too small for resawing, though. And Paul, you're absolutely right. A 3/4 inch blade is too small for resawing. If you've got a 14-inch bandsaw, put a 1/2 inch blade on it.
Yeah, you said 3/4, but it's 3/8. He said.
Oh, 3/8 is what he said. Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me. 3/8 inch blade.
Yeah, if you're using
3/4 is a big one.
Yeah, no, he's saying 3/8 inch blade, and
So let me correct that. So thank you.
Yeah, if you're using a 3/8 inch blade for resawing, I will say that I'll jump up to the 1/2 inch and you'll be a lot better satisfied. I've had about 3 people. Mark Sherman is one of them that I told them to watch the videos of Alex Snodgrass. Mark Sherman was on our show a lot. He's working now. He's actually got 2 jobs, so he can't be on as much as he used to. And he even co-hosted with me a couple of times when Charles was out. But I told him about it. He watched Alex's video, and he also bought those wood slicers blades from Highland Woodworking. And so if you have any questions, ask him, because he told me that made that tremendous difference in his bandsaw. He really liked the blade and liked the way it was set up. So,
well, I guess I know what I'll be watching later.
Yeah, I had used one for years, and I'm the type of person, I'm always out there willing to try to watch stuff and better myself, and I learn something new just about every day, and that it's actually surprised me the way that he set it up and how well it worked. All right, well, if we don't have any more questions or anything, we'll conclude the show. Charles, you want to just say something real quick before we close out?
Sorry about the squeal. Y'all keep the sawdust flying. I appreciate every one of y'all being on the panel and the viewers.
Guess what? The squeal's gone.
Figures.
Of course it's gone now.
Thank y'all for all for being on, and sorry y'all had to look at me off in the corner.
Yeah, the squeal's totally gone. Isn't that funny at the end of the show?
Well, so is Jason.
Well, I would like to publicly applaud Russ because he did a better hosting job on this show than I would have done, because I don't know that much at all about bandsaws. You clearly have a lot more knowledge than I do.
Well, thank you. Oh, you want to highlight yourself and do your famous ending?
Well, it used to be scroll on. Now it's keep the sawdust flying.